The topic that I want to talk to you guys about today is how do we live or love someone who's suffering from depression? And I know that this is not an easy thing, and definitely is not easy to be depressed either. So I think it's really important to have a kind of a guideline in terms of the things that we can and the things that we cannot do when we are dealing or when we are supporting someone who is suffering from depression. So the first one that I'm going to address is saying things that we think are helpful, but actually in reality they're not. Things like you just need to get out of the house, or you just need to look on the bright side, or you gotta think positive. Saying stuff like this to someone who's depressed doesn't actually help them feel better, because depression is just not a matter of having a bad day or being sad. Depression is a mental illness, and it's not something a person can help or easily get over. So saying stuff like this can make them often feel more helpless and think that they can't get over it. But the things that we can say and are helpful and meaningful is that I believe in you, I love you, I care for you, I'm here to support you, and I think that you are strong. Being honest, being genuine with the things that you say, it's really impactful. Now, the second one is not to offer advice. This is really important. This is kind of a human thing that we do all the time. And in general, most people don't want to get advice, but a lot of us like to give advice. So it's kind of a disconnect in between right here. But even though we know that it comes from the good place, but it doesn't always perceive. Things like, hey, you should exercise more. That helps depression. Or you should see a doctor. You should go to therapy. Eat different food. Again, all of these things can really be helpful with depression, like seeing doctor, therapists, diet, or getting out or exercise. But telling someone who's depressed what they should do or they shouldn't do, again, oftentimes makes them feel bad and demotivated because they're hearing it from someone else. So what we can say to better suggest things that can be really good, instead of saying you should do this, you should do that, say, what kind of things have you found out that is helpful? What kind of things have you learned that might help you? And which one of them have you tried? Or saying that, oh, I heard about this and I read about this. What do you think? Do you think that that might be something you might be interested? And if they said no, say, that's cool, that's okay, they're not interested. But if they said yes, open up the conversation, not in a way of telling them what to do, but rather suggesting to them. That way you open up the communication and people are more in tune of sharing with you what they're dealing with their depression. The third one that is important is that sometimes loved one or people who are depressed have to push their loved one away. And sometimes they push us away. And it's not because they don't love us, it's because the feeling that they have is overwhelming. They feel overwhelmed and they feel that they don't want to overwhelm you. They don't want to put you in a position that you would feel overwhelmed. Because when you're depressed, you feel awful all the time, a lot of the time. And the last thing that you want to do is to transfer that feeling or that sadness or that feeling of being depressed or that yucky feeling that you have, the down feeling, to someone else. So that's why people who are dealing with depression, they hold back and they push their loved one away at times. So it's important that if you are with someone who is depressed, give them the space that they need. It doesn't mean they don't care about us. It doesn't mean they don't love us. It just means that at that time, they're dealing with something and they don't want to put it on us. So it's important to recognize this and give them the space that they need. So a thing that we can do is that when we notice that they're pushing us back, tell them, I love you and I care for you and I'll give you the space that you need. Know that if you ever wanted to talk or if you ever wanted to share something, we're here for you. Now, this is something that we got to keep reminding them that we're here to support them, because depression tells people that other people don't care about you. They don't want to support you. So constantly being in the state of telling them, reminding them that you are there for them is very positive and can have a very meaningful impact. Being depressed can be draining so often, and we often lack the time that we need to take care of ourselves. So a thing that we can do, we need to not feel about we have to fix them and it's our responsibility to change them. So it's important to give them the time, let them know of we are there to help them, let them know that we're there to support them, and give them the encouragement that they need instead of just pushing them, because it can be burning, it can be very harsh, it can be very difficult and challenging, because we're constantly thinking of changing someone, making them something else, and that can be exhausting, and that can separate our relationship and make it harder for us to, first of all, communicate, second of all, to set our expectation. So let them know that you're there to support them, and set boundaries and be clear about those boundaries, because those boundaries are what helps you be your best, what helps you exactly recognize what is needed, what is not. Now, the next one is that people who are dealing with depression, sometimes they just want to disappear. Sometimes they just want to leave an event, or they don't show up to their meeting that you have with them, or to your date, or to your family time. Just know that they're not leaving or they're not showing up because they don't like you. They're leaving or they're not showing up because they're dealing with depression. They're dealing with something that is depressive to them, and it's hard for them, because being in that situation that you were supposed to be, it's because being social, it's really difficult for them. So recognize that things are not personal when we're dealing with someone who is suffering from depression. And if it's happening a lot over time, over and over, it's important to let them know that, hey, I understand that you're going through something. I love you. I care for you. Just let me know, how can I support you? How can I be there for you? By saying these things, we just transform the whole situation. Rather than just focusing and pinpointing on little things, we're actually there to support them. And the most important thing is that don't blame yourself for someone else's depression. We can't make someone depressed. In the same sense that we can make someone depressed, it's important for us to recognize that their depression is not because of us, because sometimes we reflect things to ourselves and we're thinking that they're separating, they're having this space is because of us, and we feel responsible for that. So know that you can't cause depression in someone else, and you don't need to blame yourself, and you don't need to feel that responsibility, because that can burn you out and cause you to struggle really with your life, with the thing that you want to do, and be overwhelmed. So if you have a loved one who's suffering from depression, know that it is not your fault. And the thing that I want to let you know above and beyond everything else is that you matter. If you're living with someone, or if you're dealing with someone, or if your partner is suffering from depression, what you're doing means a lot. The fact that you're watching this video, that says a lot. And you need to remind yourself constantly that every day, everything that you're trying to do is to support them. Also recognize that along the way, it's important for you to support yourself too, because a lot of time we neglect this. A lot of time we're so focused on helping other people, being there for them, saying the right thing, that we just completely and utterly forget about, okay, taking some time for me, recognizing the thing that matter to me. So take some time for yourself. Recognize that the most important pillar in this relationship is you. And in order for you to be there for them, first you have to be there for yourself. I always like to say this analogy to my client is that imagine that you went on the beach and you don't have anything with you. It's just you and your swimming suit. You come back, you go to your car and you see a homeless person on the side of the street asking for money. They're hungry, but you don't have anything on you to give them. What can you give them? What can you provide to them? A lot of time, clients would say that, oh, I could talk to them. But the thing is that that person doesn't want to talk to you. They want food. They want blanket. They want a place so they can sleep. so you can't give him anything. But imagine if you were going on camping and you walk past the same homeless person who's hungry alongside the street. Now what can you give that person? Well, you could give him blanket, you could give him food, you could give him shelter, a tent maybe, anything. You could give him money, anything you want. So the point of the story is that in order to be able to support someone else and give something to someone else, we first have to make sure that we have all the necessary tools, equipment, and support that we need, and support ourselves to be able to truly help someone else. Finally, one other thing that can really help is that sometimes it's okay to seek out for help. But again, if you want your partner, your loved one to cope with their depression and seek therapy, don't tell them, rather suggest to them. Let them know that, hey, I found this therapist, talks about this. What do you think of this? Have you read about people working with a therapist? Or have you seen this video about this therapist that I saw who helped this client? Suggesting. Don't tell them what to do. As always, thank you for watching. I wish you all the best, and I'll see you guys on the next one.